So close. Hey, folks. Welcome to Wildcards, our new Savage Worlds focused show with very special co-host Ross Watson. Ross, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am awesome. And before we introduce our very special guest, I am going to play our awesome intro music. It's kind of a slow start, but it builds up over time. So gotta
That's
give
a
it a
lot
few
like me.
seconds. Yeah. Our special guest tonight from 23rd Century Productions LLC is Tony Oliver. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
All right. And for those of our listeners and viewers who might not know, your company produce a cool game called Battlelords of the 23rd Century, which actually is kind of it's you guys are like the sixth edition, right? It's been going back for years and years.
Seventh.
Seventh for classic Battlelords. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, what's interesting is it shares the same publication date as Rifts. 1990 was the first release.
I did not know that. That's really cool. And you can find out more at 23rdcentury.net. But just to set things up real fast, can you give us the elevator pitch for the Battlelords of the 23rd Century universe?
Sure. Battlelords takes place in the 23rd century, a dangerous universe where most players are over-equipped, under-trained corporate mercenaries in a galaxy at war, which is being invaded by the arachnid hordes. And they spend most of their time fighting with each other and other corporate mercenaries, and occasionally with the arachnids.
The arachnids are kind of the big bads of the setting, aren't they?
Yes. We did introduce some new antagonists in 7th edition. But the arachnids are the classic bad guys in Battlelords.
On this cover right here, is this an arachnid on the lower right?
No, that's just some other poor, unfortunate corporate mercenary who has been decapitated by the Eridani there.
Bummer. Okay. So this has been a fun game. Our other freaking co-host, Walt Rebillard, loves this game. Played it a lot in the Army back in the 80s and 90s. Or 90s. Walt isn't quite that old. And we were psyched to hear you're coming to Savage Worlds.
I'm very excited.
It's a cool thing. When's that going to be coming out?
The digital version is available right now. We've got 3 books. There's the core rules, the Carnage Companion, and those are the prototype covers. And then we've got the Alliance Setting Guide. And the core rules basically develop Battlelords for the Savage World system. The Carnage Companion adds more toys and edges and hindrances and vehicles. And then the setting guide gives you the background, including info about the arachnids and spaceships.
Cool. That's really cool. What made you want to bring it over to Savage Worlds?
Well, classic Battlelords is probably best described as crunchy. It still has its 1990 game roots. And for a lot of people, the setting is appealing, but the game mechanics are not. So we wanted to port the universe over to a system that would be a little more streamlined, a little rules light compared to classic Battlelords, so that the people who preferred those kind of mechanics would be able to enjoy that setting.
Well, it's worked out for Savage Rifts, so I could say I think you're on the right track.
We looked at a lot of different options, and I think we ultimately decided that the Savage Worlds mechanics were sort of a no-brainer for us in terms of picking which one we should go with.
So are you guys launching a Kickstarter for this, or?
It was successfully kickstarted already.
Oh, that was the 7th edition, right? That was
for 7th edition and for the Savage Worlds edition. We had Kickstarters for both.
Okay, awesome.
And both were successful. Like I said, the digital versions of the Savage, we call them Savage Battlelords books, are available to our backers who already received them. And then a few days ago, they went live on DriveThruRPG and our website. And yesterday, I sent off the printer files to our printer. So hopefully in a couple months, we will have hard copies.
That's really interesting. It actually turns out one of my good friends, Harry Heckel, did some writing for Battlelords. He wrote Silent Wars back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I tangentially know a guy who worked on this. That's the only thing I'm kind of trying to say. But
Battlelords has been around so long that everybody who's in the industry knows somebody who's written for it or illustrated for it at one point. It seems like.
Now you did some work on the pre-7th edition supplements, isn't that right?
Yeah. We've I personally have been involved with Battlelords since 3rd edition. And have been writing material for it since probably 5th edition.
Nice. So the guy who created Battlelords is Lawrence Sims, right?
Larry Sims, yes.
Larry, yeah. What's he like?
Larry wrote Battlelords based on his experience in the U.S. Army in the 1980s. So you'll see a lot of the same themes over there. At least from his perspective, the equipment built by the lowest bidder and the grunts in the trenches being expendable. But Larry, he's a character, and he's without him, we would not have Battlelords. And he eventually also ran a game company in Buffalo, New York, or a game store rather, in Buffalo, New York, called ODS, and eventually decided that he wanted to do something else and passed Battlelords off to his art director and web designer, who carried that torch for 15 years.
Wow.
And then in 2017, they were like, you know what, we're tired too. And I said, we'll keep it going. And so we're actually the 3rd company to helm the Battlelords brand. But Larry, I describe him as a warrior poet. Right now he's writing poetry books. I think he has 3 books of poetry published, but he also does semi-professional MMA.
Wow. So I'm an Army guy too. And tell me what's the, you said you were mercenaries, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you work for in the Battlelords universe?
Most people work for the Megacorps. It is a bit of a dystopian setting in that sense where even though there's this grand galactic alliance, everything behind the scenes is pretty much run by these massive galaxy-spanning corporations. And most players are employed by those Megacorps who view them as an expendable resource. And it's very much sort of the awful boss situation where if you break a piece of equipment or break one of their rules, you've signed on for these 4 or 5 year contracts, and they'll be like, that's okay, we'll take care of it. We'll just add another year to your contract.
Nice. So there's a ton of alien races and stuff in the setting. That's something I thought was really interesting. One of the ones that made me laugh out loud is there's a race called the Kazanti. Mm-hmm. Not the Kazanti. That's totally different.
Yeah.
The Kazanti.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cute. I was like, oh, okay. I see what you did there. That's nice.
Yeah. So far, they haven't made it into 7th edition, but they were one of the species that you could play in 6th edition and prior.
So what's different about the Suede version of Battlelords? Other than the rule set, obviously.
Other than the rules, the setting is pretty similar. The big thing for us was Battlelords is basically armored infantry combat, and it has a very unique weapons and armor interaction. And that's one of the things that makes Battlelords. And we wanted to make sure we carried that over to the Savage Worlds version without making it overly complex, because Savage Worlds is the fun, fast, and furious play, and we wanted to keep that. So the main difference is how that armor system works in Savage Worlds versus in classic Battlelords, but it's still there. I think we did a pretty good job of porting it over. And for people who want highly customizable armor and different futuristic weapon systems, you can port it out to any Savage Worlds game. You don't have to necessarily keep it with Battlelords. There is a rabbit race called the FOT.
That's right.
I just saw that comment. Yes.
According to Wikipedia, they are synthetic, xenophobic, leperoid rednecks, which I think is a great description.
They were genetically engineered by mad genius Uncle Ernie Frilberg to annoy the rest of the Alliance, and so they have. B. Dave Walters once described them as having every negative trait you could possibly want. So yeah, they're obnoxious and xenophobic and ill-tempered, but they are fun to play.
Well, that's interesting. Somebody made a race to just troll the universe, I guess.
Yes,
a species.
Yeah, it was. He hates the Alliance, and he found out they were going to annex this planet. And one of the rules is if you annex a planet where there's a sentient species on it, you have to make them citizens. And so he decided, I'm going to populate this planet, but I need something that reproduces really fast. And since he was a human, first thing that came to mind,
yep,
rabbits.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, is there any particular setting rules for Savage Worlds that you guys have adopted for Battlelords?
Most of the rules, game mechanics wise, are like I said, are in the armor and weapons. We do have there's a couple setting rules I should mention. We introduced malfunction rules for weapons. So if you get a critical failure, you can roll on the malfunction chart. And again, that's because in Battlelords, all your gear is built by the lowest bidder. There is a combat stress table. Going berserk or freaking out and panicking are aspects that soldiers can experience in combat, and it's in Battlelords, and that's very similar to sort of how the fear table works in Savage Worlds.
Right.
And then we have the critical hit table, which is a much expanded version of the injury table in Savage Worlds. And we suggest that if you like that, you use the gritty setting rules that they have in Savage Worlds as an option, and that way every time you take a wound, you're rolling on that great big critical hit table. But for the most part, we found that the rules that we wanted to implement could be represented by what they had in Savage Worlds already, or just maybe by expanding on them.
Oh yeah, and I know I've been like monopolizing this conversation, so I want to make sure Mike gets a chance to speak. But I have one last question, and that is, are you aware of the Savage Universe initiative to reach out to other aces like yourself?
Yes, I've already been bugging the people over at Pinnacle about, hey, when can we get on there? When can we get on there? And I'm trying to get them to potentially partner with us in terms of promoting it, both promoting Battlelords and at the same time promoting Savage Universe. So we'll see if that's something they're interested in doing.
Awesome. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike. What do you think, buddy?
I was trying to let you shine, Russ, since you're kind of the Savage Worlds ambassador here in the BAMF family of podcasts. So, but a lot of cool art. Yeah, we've had you guys on a couple times talking about the setting, and I love the Gonzo sci-fi with grim, gallows humor combination. Dark humor is definitely an element in the game. I think that's why I like this a little bit more than Rift, because Rift kind of seems a little, there's not really a focus. Well, I mean, there is, depending on how you're going to play it, but it's a kitchen sink. There's everything in there. Well, it's a very specific campaign idea. You're mercenaries, you're doing mercenary stuff, killing other mercenaries. So I remember these guys were a particular favorite of Walt. He had a Python character, and he liked to do what he called the Death Noogie move. Yes. Yeah. When you get trying to remember how much they weigh. I want to say about 800 pounds and 3 meters tall. And you get an 800-pound lizard, puts you in a headlock and just starts pounding on your noggin. Bad things happen. Yeah, that's like having a full career in the NFL real fast.
So what is your favorite part of the setting, Tony?
I would, that's a tough question. I have to favorite part of this setting. I think it's that things can and do go wrong, and we actually write the game and the scenarios for the game with the assumption that everything is going to go off the rails. and it will be hilariously fun as it goes. I mean, it's the old phrase, no plan survives first contact is definitely part of Battlelords. Characters are typically undertrained for what their employers ask them to do, and they do the best they can with what they've got. But most of the time, things go hilariously wrong.
So if I'm a new player and I want to start playing Battlelords right away, like what is the best what's the best paradigm for me and my friends, like as a mercenary group? Are we like a brand new mercenary company, or are we just recruits hired by an old mercenary company? Like, how does that work?
You could do it either way, and there are independent mercenary companies. Most players get hired on by a megacorp, and they're basically just given jobs. Go protect this installation. Go steal this information from this other megacorp. Go get
Like
the information back that they stole from us. And
see, that sounds like Shadowrun right there.
A little, yeah.
A guy named Mr. Johnson in a shadowy tavern, and he gives you these missions.
Yeah, but there's Dave Saruco, who's one of the co-writers, describes it as sort of a mix of the dystopian corporations in Fifth Element combined with the military aspect of Starship Troopers. So it's you get a little of that. You're going to eventually get out there and get shot at or be shooting at stuff more than likely. But your boss is always some third tier manager at a mega corporation that really doesn't care if you live or die as long as you get the job done and follow all the rules.
Yeah, see, I guess in my head I was thinking like the mercenary companies like from BattleTech, which are these big named groups that hire themselves out to nation states.
And we have those too.
Okay.
The megacorps will hire them out for when they don't want to use their private armies of mercenaries for stuff. Maybe they need something that's a little more discreet or something that they can wash their hands of. So you can get a job working for a private mercenary company, and we list a bunch of them in the game.
Well, the way you described it, like being a little more like Shadowrun, kind of makes me think that the player character group is kind of a small, struggling mercenary company of their own. Like they're trying to build up. Yeah. That's what it put me in mind of.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about the setting is it's flexible enough where you can do that. You can be independent mercs, you can be soldiers in the Alliance military, you can be corporate espionage, you can be pirates. Who doesn't want to be a space pirate? The setting is flexible enough that you can do all of those things, but we tend to focus on those four: mercenaries, soldiers, pirates, and spies.
Okay.
Yeah, the pastry chef's book didn't get funded as a stretch goal, but I was looking forward to it.
Space plumbers coming soon.
Space plumbers. Hey, I know I've asked this question before, Tony, but refresh my memory because I'm an old man. These cat-like guys, they're different from the Kazantes. Cat-like Scissorax with their great speed and hunting instincts. Tell me about these guys.
The Scissorax, yes. The Scissorax are basically a species of cat-like aliens. We call it convergent evolution. And they are a matriarchal society. All the men are kept at home in chains, as it should be, according to the Scissorax, who are not at home. And they are primarily employed as scouts and combatants, because when you get a 400-pound Bengal tiger equivalent in armor, they're pretty formidable.
Do they have thumbs? Can they pick things up?
They do. Their fingers actually unfold, and they have thumbs, and they can stand on their hind legs if they have to. But they're a little clumsy when they're walking on 2 versus 4.
That's fair. I am as well. But, I like the battle armor we see here. How is that cat controlling the turret on their backside?
It's a look and shoot harness. So wherever the cat looks is where the gun points.
I guess it just hasn't caught up to him yet in this particular image.
Yeah.
But it looks cool as hell. I dig it.
Sweet, yeah, that's a lot of fun. That would be
this art is all from these are not from previous editions. This is art for the current edition of the game.
Correct.
Okay.
I love these guys too, the asparagus heads.
Those
Yeah.
are the Chatillians.
Yes,
Brilliant. Yes.
they are fun to play. They can read your thoughts. They can communicate telepathically. They tend to be really whiny and obnoxious and annoying because if you could communicate at the speed of thought and you had to wait for everyone else to finish a sentence vocally, and you're like, come on. I described it as having to communicate with somebody by typing with one finger. And after a while, that would make you irritable and a little annoyed if you had to talk to everybody who wasn't a Chitalian like that. And that's what communication with other races seems like to them. So they tend to be a little whiny whenever they have to deal with somebody who's not a Chitalian.
Well, they're basically living in the DMV all the time.
Yes.
Ouch. That sucks.
So these guys here, tell us about you pronounce that word, I'm sorry.
Eridani.
Eridani.
Yeah.
Yes. The Eridani are a militaristic feudal society of aliens, and they've basically formed the backbone of the Alliance military, since their entire culture revolves around war. When the Arachnids invaded, and all of the other species in the Alliance said, "Hey, we should probably team up so we don't get our butts kicked," they all looked to the Eridani to organize and help them wage war to defend themselves against the Arachnids. But the Eridani are a little old-fashioned when it comes to waging war, so they prefer to get up close and personal with their opponents. They run around with swords and maces. They're high-tech swords and maces, but they are definitely sort of samurai-like in their approach to combat.
Oh, sweet. Just going through a few more here was the fan favorite Fots. Oh, alliteration. I like that. The Keen. All right, these are bat people. Tell us about them.
That was a species we introduced in 7th edition. The bat frogs, the Keen. We call them triphibians. They are arboreal, but they're also aquatic. They basically live in rainforest trees, and the way the trees are on their world work is that they kind of form bowls where they catch water. So in addition to gliding from tree to tree, the Keen can swim in these pools that are suspended up in the trees. And in their natural environment, they have the ability to blend in with pretty much whatever they touch. If you look at that picture where his hand touches the tree, it blends in. It doesn't look like the same color as the rest of his skin. So they have the ability to blend in with their environment. So they make great scouts.
They're both keen and nifty.
Yes. And they have echolocation as one of their abilities. So that's why we call them bat frogs.
Nice.
That is pretty cool. All right, so when this has come out for the backers, when will this be available to the general public, the unwashed masses?
Our goal is to have it ready, have the print copies ready by Gen Con, which is in August. If all goes well, we will probably have them a month or two before that. And currently the PDF copies are available right now. So if you want a digital copy, they're available.
And what's the best way to get that?
Either on our website or at Drive-Thru RPG is probably the easiest place to pick up the PDFs.
Okay. And that's just 23rdcentury.net and hit the shop tab for your website?
Yeah. Or you can also go to battlelords.com. That works as well.
All right. Cool. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you, Tony. Ross, did you have any final thoughts or closing questions before we wrap things up?
Just one. I read that there is a novel that was released in 2017 called Across the Wounded Galaxy. Is that a good resource to read about? Like if I just want to read about the setting?
The novels are actually, when we licensed the game from the previous owners, they kind of parsed out different aspects of the game. And one of the things that was licensed separately were the literary rights. So we actually aren't affiliated with the person who writes the novel. So I can't tell you.
Okay.
My understanding is they're more based in the 6th edition lore than the newer 7th edition lore. Yeah, there are. I think he's got 3 novels out actually. So,
oh wow! Okay. Wikipedia lied to me. No. No, I'm excited. I'm really glad to see you guys join the Savage community. And as I was saying, Star Anvil Studios, we're doing the same thing with Saints and Sinners. We're transitioning that over to Savage Worlds as well. So it's exciting, and I'm glad to have something with the pedigree of Battlelords now as part of the Savage universe.
Yeah, we're excited to get there. A lot of new fans seeing the seeing the universe rather for the first time. So we hope to make a lot of new fans in the Savage Worlds game space.
Sweet. And it looks like you guys just published the PDF version on DriveThru this month.
Yes,
just a few days ago.
Just a few days ago, it went live.
Nice.
Fantastic. Yeah, got the link.
Congratulations.
There. Okay.
But if you just Google DriveThru RPG, Battlelords, Savage, it'll be one of the first hits that comes up. It looks like a lot of fun, and just $20. So, what do you have to lose? Check it out. Larry.
No, his name is Anthony.
I'm sorry. Hey, forgive me, Tony. I know your name. Forgive, it's late. Appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure. Ross, thank you for co-hosting. This was a good time. To all of our commenters, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. And we will catch you next time on Wild Cards.